Chief Keef is dating King Von's sister. Let that land. The same man who went completely silent when Von was murdered in Atlanta. The same man who said absolutely nothing. No tribute, no statement, no acknowledgement, when one of Chicago's most important voices was taken from this world. The same man who waited until Von was dead and Dirk was locked up before linking with NBA youngboy, Von's op, like the coast was finally clear. That man is now cozied up with Kayla B, King Von's little sister, wearing matching chains, kissing in mirror selfies, being called my boyfriend on Instagram by the sister of the man he turned his back on. And Chicago? Chicago is absolutely done. O'Block is furious. The streets are talking. And the internet has been going back and forth on this situation for months, because nobody can fully wrap their head around the audacity of what Chief Keef has done here. Not just the betrayal of Von's legacy. Not just the Youngboy collab. But this. Going directly into Von's family, while Von's name is still on murals across the South Side. Herbo sees it. O'Block sees it. And today, we are putting the complete picture together. Stay locked in. This one is personal. Now let us set the full context. Because before we get into the Kayla B situation, before we break down every layer of what Chief Keef's relationship with King Von's sister actually means for Chicago, for O'Block, and for the legacy of one of the most important rappers the city has ever produced, we need to understand the complete picture of who Chief Keef is in relation to King Von's world. Not the industry version. Not the social media version. The real version. The Chicago version. The version that the people who actually lived inside this ecosystem understand when they look at what is happening right now and feel something that goes way beyond regular celebrity gossip. Chief Keef, Keith Cozart, grew up in Parkway Gardens. O'Block. The same housing project on Chicago's South Side that produced King Von, that shaped Lil Durk, that became the foundation of an entire era of Chicago drill music that changed the sound of rap forever. And before he was Sosa. Before he was the 16-year-old who dropped I Don't Like and made the entire music industry stop and pay attention to Chicago. Before any of that, Chief Keef was just another young man on those blocks. Present. Part of the community. Shaped by the same streets, the same environment, the same specific Chicago South Side reality that produced everybody else in this story.
When Chief Keef moved to LA, was that when you felt that you needed to make the move too?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, that was goated. I talk about that so much, bro. Like, when Sosa moved to LA, it made it possible for us. Like, damn, you could just go to Cali and ain't gotta look over your shoulder no more. Yeah. Like, that was the coldest shit ever to me. Like,
and Herbo, one of Chicago drill's most respected lyricists, a man who has navigated every era of Chicago rap politics with a level of credibility that has never really wavered. Herbo has been consistent about what Chief Keef means to Chicago. Herbo said directly, "Chief Keef is really the greatest thing to happen to Chicago in my opinion." That is not a small statement. That is not casual praise from somebody who throws compliments around loosely. That is Herbo, who has his own legacy, his own catalog, his own place in Chicago drill history, acknowledging that what Chief Keef did for the city was foundational, was irreplaceable, was the thing that opened the door for every Chicago rapper who came after him, including Von himself. Herbo went further, disagreeing with Charlemagne the God's assessment that Chief Keef only influenced a region rather than the world. Herbo said, "What Charlemagne said, he don't feel like Sosa is one of the most influential globally, but I disagree. I feel like it wouldn't be a lot of artists if it wasn't for Sosa. I'm talking about a lot of styles though." And that context matters enormously for understanding the Chief Keef and Kayla B situation. Because Herbo's respect for Chief Keef, his genuine, publicly stated belief that Keef is one of the most important figures Chicago has ever produced, makes Herbo's complicated feelings about what Keef has done since Von's death that much more significant. Because when somebody who genuinely respects you looks at your recent moves and finds them indefensible, that is not a hater talking. That is somebody who actually understands your value telling you that you are squandering it. And what Chief Keef has done since Von's death, the timeline of decisions that brought him to the point of being publicly linked with Von's sister, is a story that needs to be told in full. Because none of it happened in isolation. None of it was one random bad decision. It was a pattern. A consistent documented pattern of moving away from O'Block and everything it represented at every moment when moving toward it would have required something real from him. It started with blood money. Chief Keef fell out with O'Block after King Von was accused of shooting his cousin Blood Money. And look, on a human level that is understandable. That is family. You do not get to stay neutral when somebody from the block you came from allegedly shoots your cousin. You have to choose. And Keef chose his family. Which on one level is exactly what any person should do. But then November 6th, 2020 happened. And the entire Chicago community, everybody who had ever claimed any connection to O'Block, to Von, to the world that produced that music, everybody was waiting to see who showed up and who stayed silent. Chief Keef stayed completely silent following King Von's passing. No tribute. No Instagram post. No acknowledgement of any kind that a man who grew up on the same blocks he grew up on, who came from the same community that gave Chief Keef his entire foundation, was gone. Nothing. Absolute silence from the man that Herbo called the greatest thing to happen to Chicago. And O'Block felt that. Deeply. Permanently. Because in Chicago silence is never neutral. Silence is a statement. And Keef's silence after Von's death was the loudest statement he could have made about where his loyalties actually lay when things got real. And then came the Young Boy collab. The move that Big Mike specifically said would never have happened if Von was alive. Big Mike said Chief Keef only linked with Young Boy because Von is not here anymore, adding that he would have respected it more if Von was alive or Dirk was free. So Keef went silent when Von died. Then linked with Von's op the moment the people who would have checked him for that move were either dead or locked up. 2 decisions. 2 data points. 2 moments that told the Chicago community exactly who Chief Keef was when the pressure was actually on. And then, as if those 2 decisions were not enough, came Kayla B. Chief Keef made his return to Chicago for his first live performance after more than a decade. He marked the occasion with an Instagram post that caught the attention of Kayla B, King Von's sister. She dropped off a couple of emojis under his post, licking lips and heart eyes, sparking rumors she had something going on with the Chicago rapper. And Keef, who had said nothing about Von, who had linked with Young Boy, who had given O'Block every reason to feel abandoned, did nothing to downplay the Kayla B speculation. Chief Keef did nothing to downplay the speculation, calling her his boo on social media. His boo. King Von's sister. His boo. And Chicago processed that information in real time. Because the layers of what that means, the specific complexity of Chief Keef calling Von's sister his boo after everything that had already happened, that is not something you can process quickly or cleanly or without a lot of complicated feelings. Because on one hand Kayla B is a grown woman who makes her own decisions. Nobody owns her. Nobody gets to tell her who she can and cannot be with. And that is a real and important point that has to be acknowledged. But on the other hand, the context of who Chief Keef is in relation to Von's world, the specific history of what he did and did not do in the aftermath of Von's death, the pattern of decisions that brought him to this moment, all of that context does not disappear just because the relationship is between 2 consenting adults. The context is still there. The community is still aware of it. And O'Block is still processing what it means that the man who turned his back on Von is now inside Von's family in the most personal way imaginable. Because Sexy Red's involvement in this situation took everything that was already complicated and made it impossible to ignore. Because before Sexy Red entered the picture, before the chain photos and the mirror selfies and the birthday posts and the social media back and forth that followed, the Chief Keef and Kayla B situation was something that Chicago was processing internally. Something that the people who understood the full context were talking about in whispers and comment sections and group chats. But the moment Sexy Red got involved, the moment this became a public 3-way situation playing out on Instagram and Twitter in real time, it became something that the entire internet had an opinion on whether they understood the Chicago context or not. And that is exactly the problem. Because the people who jumped on this story from the outside, the people who saw the chain photos and the kissing selfies and Sexy Red putting Keef's pendant in her underwear, those people saw entertainment. They saw celebrity drama. They saw 2 women going back and forth over a rapper in the way that social media loves to consume and share and turn into memes. What they did not see, what they could not see without the specific knowledge of Chicago rap politics and O'Block history, was the weight of what was actually happening underneath the surface. Let us lay out exactly what went down. Chief Keef posted a carousel of photos getting cozy with Sexy Red. In the comments section, she wrote a lyric from her song, "Bae, I love you, you my everything." Around the same time, Kayla B was reportedly rocking Chief Keef's chain. Then Sexy posted various photos holding the same chain, including pics stuffing the jewelry in her underwear. Now the chain is significant. Because in Chicago, in the specific world that Chief Keef and King Von and O'Block all came from, a chain is not just jewelry. A chain is identity. A chain is a statement of affiliation. A chain is something you give to people who are in your circle, who represent something to you, who you want to publicly claim as yours. And here was Chief Keef's chain, the chain of the man who grew up in O'Block, who said nothing when Von died, who linked with Youngboy. The chain was being worn by Von's sister on one side and Sexy Red on the other. Being shared. Being competed over. Being put in underwear for social media content. And O'Block was watching all of this happen in real time. And the feelings that were generated by watching it were not simple. Were not clean. Were not the kind of feelings that resolve easily into a single coherent emotion. Because there was anger. There was disbelief. There was the specific kind of pain that comes from watching somebody you feel has already disrespected your community, now becoming intimately connected to the family of the man that community lost. Kayla B responded to Sexy Red's chain photos with a picture of her and Chief Keef kissing in a mirror selfie, captioning it, "Let's be a family," with heart eye emojis tagging Sexy Red. Sexy Red responded, "You can't run me off that easy. I guess we gotta share. We sharing this N******A. Let's be a family." That is what Kayla B wrote. Let's be a family. And somewhere in the comment sections of Chicago rap Twitter and Instagram, somewhere in the feeds of the people who watched Von build his legacy and then watched him get buried, those three words landed with a weight that had nothing to do with relationship drama and everything to do with what family means in the context of O'Block and what Chief Keef's relationship to that family actually represents. Because Von's family is O'Block's family. That is how it works in those communities. That is the specific intimacy of Chicago South Side culture, where the lines between blood family and block family blur in ways that outsiders never fully understand. And when Kayla B says, "Let's be a family" to Chief Keef, the man who abandoned O'Block, who stayed silent when O'Block's most important voice was killed, who linked with O'Block's enemies, she is not just talking about a romantic relationship. She is making a statement about forgiveness and connection that O'Block itself has never been asked to make, has never been offered the chance to make. Because nobody asked O'Block if they wanted Chief Keef back in the family. Nobody consulted the people who are still grieving Von. The relationship just happened. On Instagram. In real time. For the whole world to watch. On Chief Keef's birthday, Kayla B posted an Instagram video captioning it, "Happy birthday to my boyfriend, I love you at Chief Keef Sasa." My boyfriend. Public. Official. On record. And Sexy Red simultaneously posted her own birthday content, even joking about making Chief Keef her third baby daddy. And comedian Lil Duval assessed the entire situation from the outside with a line that went viral for a reason. Lil Duval said, "Looks like Chief Keef won if you ask me." And from a purely surface-level perspective, from the perspective of somebody who is not carrying the weight of Chicago rap history, he was not wrong. Two women publicly competing for your attention on social media, while you stay relatively quiet and let it play out. From the outside, that looks like winning. But from the inside, from the perspective of O'Block, from the perspective of the people who understand what Chief Keef's presence in Von's family actually means given everything that came before it, this does not look like winning. This looks like the final chapter of a betrayal that started the night Von was killed and Keef said nothing. This looks like the completion of a pattern that has been building for years and has now reached a point where it cannot be explained away or contextualized into something neutral. And Herbo, who has maintained his respect for Chief Keef as an artist, who has collaborated with him, who brought him out at Summer Smash, who appeared on his 2026 album, Chief Keef brought out Herbo at Summer Smash with the crowd going absolutely crazy. 138,900 likes on the viral TikTok clip alone. Two Chicago legends on one stage. Herbo has never fully broken with Keef. Has maintained the relationship. Has kept the musical connection alive even as the O'Block community has processed its complicated feelings about Sosa. And that position, That specific choice to maintain the relationship with Keef while also being from the same Chicago ecosystem that is processing the Vaughn betrayal puts G Herbo in a uniquely complicated space. Because G Herbo's continued association with Chief Keef is itself a statement. It is saying that the musical legacy and the personal relationship can be separated from the political dimensions of Keef's choices. That you can respect what somebody built without endorsing everything they have done since. But the O-Block community is not sure that separation is possible. Is not sure that you can fully honor Vaughn's legacy while maintaining warm relationships with the man who turned his back on that legacy at every critical moment. And the Kayla B situation has made that question impossible to avoid. Has forced it into the open in a way that the Young Boy collab started but did not complete. Because the Young Boy collab was about music. About industry alignment. About the kind of professional decision that can be framed, even if unconvincingly, as a business move that exists separately from personal loyalty. But dating Vaughn's sister? That is not a business move. That cannot be framed as industry strategy or professional calculation. That is personal. That is intimate. That is Chief Keef inserting himself into the most private spaces of Vaughn's family in a way that has no professional justification and carries an enormous amount of emotional weight for everyone connected to Vaughn's memory. And the question that O-Block is sitting with, the question that Chicago has been unable to fully answer since this situation became public, is whether Kayla B understands the full weight of what her relationship with Chief Keef means to the people who loved her brother. Whether she has had those conversations with O-Block. Whether she cares about the community's feelings on this, or whether she has decided, as a grown woman with every right to make her own decisions, that her personal life is separate from the politics that defined her brother's world. And that question, whether love and loyalty can coexist in a situation this complicated, whether family and community can both be honored when they seem to be pointing in opposite directions, is exactly what makes this situation so much more than a celebrity love triangle. Because King Vaughn cannot have a say. And that is the cruelest part of all of this. The man whose name is at the center of every dimension of this story, whose legacy is being discussed, whose sister is involved, whose community is divided, whose memory is being invoked by everyone who has an opinion about what Chief Keef should and should not be doing, that man is not here. Cannot be consulted. Cannot tell Kayla B how he feels about her relationship. Cannot tell Chief Keef directly what his silence after the murder meant to the people who loved him. Cannot tell O-Block whether forgiveness is something he would have eventually extended or whether the betrayal was too fundamental to ever be moved past. And so everybody else fills that silence with their own interpretation, their own projection, their own version of what Vaughn would have wanted. And the problem with that, the specific, unavoidable problem, is that nobody actually knows. Nobody can know. Because Vaughn is gone. And the conversations that needed to happen between all of these people, between Keef and O-Block, between Kayla B and her brother's community, between the people who feel betrayed and the people who are trying to move forward, those conversations are happening without the most important voice in the room. Now let us talk about what Kayla B's position in this situation actually reveals. Because Kayla B is not a passive figure in this story. She is not somebody who stumbled into a relationship without understanding the context. She grew up in O-Block. She knows the history. She knows what Chief Keef's silence meant after Vaughn's death. She knows about the Young Boy collab. She knows about Big Mike's interviews and the community's feelings and the specific way that Chicago has processed Keef's post-Vaughn decisions. And she chose Chief Keef anyway. Publicly. Enthusiastically. With mirror selfies and chain posts and birthday tributes that left nothing ambiguous about where she stood. And that choice, made with full knowledge of the context, is itself a statement. It is Kayla B saying that her personal life and her personal feelings exist separately from the community politics that defined her brother's world. That she gets to make her own decisions about who she loves without those decisions being filtered through O-Block's grief or O-Block's anger or anyone else's feelings about what Chief Keef represents. And on a purely human level, on the level of individual autonomy and personal freedom, that position is completely defensible. Nobody owns Kayla B's choices. Nobody gets to tell a grown woman who she can and cannot be with. The fact that her brother was King Vaughn does not mean that every relationship decision she makes has to be run through a community approval process. She is a person, with her own feelings, her own life, her own heart. And she has the absolute right to follow that heart wherever it takes her. But the community's feelings are also real. And O'Block's pain is also real. And the specific discomfort of watching Chief Keef, the man who embodied a particular kind of abandonment of Von's memory, now being called my boyfriend by Von's sister on Instagram, that discomfort does not disappear just because Kayla B has every right to make that choice. Both things are true simultaneously. She has the right. And it hurts. And Chicago is trying to figure out how to hold both of those truths at the same time without letting either one cancel the other. Even into August 2025, more than a year after the situation first became public, Sexy Red and Kayla B were still going back and forth on social media over Chief Keef. Sexy Red posted on X, "BTHC still mad at me about Chief Keef." Kayla B responded on her Instagram story, "You always pressed about somebody else, man." So this is not a situation that resolved itself quietly. This is a situation that has been living and breathing and generating new moments of drama continuously. A year plus of social media back and forth that has kept Chief Keef's name and Von's sister's name in the same sentence repeatedly, constantly reminding Chicago of a connection that a significant portion of the community wishes did not exist. And Herbo, who exists in this ecosystem, who has his own history with both Chief Keef and the broader Chicago landscape that includes O'Block, is navigating all of this in the specific way that Herbo has always navigated complicated Chicago situations. Carefully, deliberately, without completely burning any bridge, but also without pretending that the complications do not exist. Chief Keef and Herbo collaborated on the track Slide on Keef's 2026 album Skeletor. So the professional relationship is still intact. The musical connection is still alive. Herbo has not made the decision to publicly distance himself from Chief Keef over any of this. And that choice, to maintain the relationship while the O'Block community processes its complicated feelings about Sosa, is itself a statement about how Herbo reads the situation. About what he believes is possible and what he believes is worth preserving even when everything around it is messy. But here is what Herbo also understands that the casual observer misses. The Chief Keef situation, the Kayla B relationship, the Youngboy collab, the silence after Von's death, all of it exists inside a Chicago landscape that has been fundamentally reorganized by loss. Von is gone. Dirk is in federal custody. Multiple O'Block members have been convicted. The community that produced all of these men is still absorbing blow after blow. And in that context, in that specific environment of accumulated grief and ongoing legal devastation, the question of whether Chief Keef belongs in Von's family is not just a personal question. It is a question about what O'Block's identity looks like going forward. About who gets to be part of the community that Von built and what the price of admission is. And there is no clean answer to that question. There is no version of this situation that satisfies everyone. Kayla B is going to do what Kayla B is going to do. Chief Keef is going to do what Chief Keef has always done. Move in the way that serves him, make the decisions that make sense from his position, and let the community process its feelings without losing sleep over it. And O'Block is going to feel what O'Block feels. The specific, layered, deeply human combination of grief and anger and disbelief and the occasional dark humor that comes from watching a situation this complicated play out in real time on social media. What King Von would have said about all of this, what he would have told his sister, what he would have told Chief Keef, what he would have told O'Block, nobody knows. Nobody will ever know. And that unknowability is the heaviest thing about this entire situation, because it means the conversation never gets to be finished. The wound never gets to be properly addressed. And the community that loved him has to navigate all of this without the one voice that would have actually mattered. That is the real cost of losing somebody the way Chicago lost King Von. Not just the music that will never be made. Not just the career that will never be completed. But the conversations that will never happen. The clarity that will never come. And the situations, like Chief Keef and Kayla B, that will always carry more weight than they should because the person at the center of it all is not here to put them in their proper context. Chicago is still hurting. O'Block is still processing. And Chief Keef is still with Von's sister. And nobody, not Herbo, not Big Mike, not King Yella, not anybody with a platform and an opinion, can change any of those three facts. And that is the complete picture that nobody else assembled for you in one place today. We went from Chief Keef growing up in O'Block and being ignored before his fame, to his falling out with Von's circle over the blood money situation, to his complete silence after Von's murder in November 2020, to the Youngboy collab that Big Mike said would never have happened if Von was alive, to Chief Keef calling Kayla B his boo on social media, to the explosive Sexy Red versus Kayla B chain war that played out on Instagram for the entire internet to consume, to Herbo maintaining his relationship with Keef while Chicago processes its complicated feelings, to the question that nobody has a clean answer to, whether forgiveness is possible when the person who was betrayed is no longer here to extend it. This is not just a celebrity love triangle. This is a story about grief, about loyalty, about what happens to community bonds when the person who held everything together is suddenly gone and everybody else has to figure out what comes next without a roadmap. So now I need to hear from you. Do you think Kayla B has the right to date Chief Keef regardless of his history with Von's community, or do you think she owes O'Block more consideration than this? Do you think Chief Keef's relationship with Von's sister is a genuine connection, or do you think there is something more calculated happening here? And most importantly, what do you think Von would actually say if he could see all of this right now? Drop everything in the comments right now. This community goes deep on these conversations, and we want your real thoughts, not the diplomatic version, the one you actually believe. If this video gave you something that no other channel assembled for you today, hit that like button immediately. Share this with somebody who thinks they understand the situation because they saw the Sexy Red clips, because they have only seen the surface. And if you are not subscribed, this is the channel that covers Chicago rap and celebrity drama with the depth and the honesty that it actually deserves. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell. Do not miss a single upload. Rest in peace to King Von. Your name deserves to be carried with the weight it actually holds.